I don't know how many of you have been living under a rock or not, but recently there's been a lot of controversy about guitar players on YouTube and Instagram editing their videos, editing their audio, depending on how you feel about it. These might be perfectly normal things to do if you want to come across professionally, if you want to have slickly produced stuff. On the other hand, maybe you see it as inauthentic. Maybe you think people are deliberately faking things to get across an exaggerated version of their skill on the instrument. So I really don't want to get into taking sides on any particular individuals, but I'm here to talk about what I do on my channel, because I think a really nice thing to do is just say, this is what I do, this is what you can expect. And hopefully none of you feel particularly disappointed, but if you do, please feel free to let me know and unsub or whatever. That's cool. And basically, because I'm not monetized anymore, I have no need to drip feed you 30 seconds of content over 10 minutes. So I'll just tell you, and then I'll go into some details. I'll show you some clips. I'll show you what I mean, and I might share some funny old guitar guy stories. So I wrote these down. 1 second. Okay, so for me, rule number one is there's no money involved in this channel. I make a big loss because I buy pieces of equipment like the green screen stuff basically for this hobby, and then I was monetized a few years ago. I think I made like $200 total or something, because most of my content uses music from artists who have their music copyrighted, so I can't really monetize that ethically or legally. So there's no money involved, so I've got no incentive to try and fool you. If I say I like a piece of software or a guitar or whatever, you don't have to worry like I'm getting money for doing that. I'm losing money for doing this. No money or negative money is involved for me doing this YouTube channel. Number two, what you see is what you get. So if you're watching me playing guitar on the internet, what you're hearing is also me playing guitar. And not just me playing guitar that I recorded earlier. What you're seeing is me playing the sounds you're hearing. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but it's not universal, so I'm calling it out specifically. What you see is what you get. Number three, one video shot means I did one take. So I'm not stitching together multiple videos to make it look like I can play things that I can't play. If there's a cut in the video, it's probably another take, right? And I don't try and hide them. Like, so for the Kadinja GLHF video, there's a cut to black. It's very obvious. No one's going to think, well, maybe people are going to think, oh, that's one thing, he's just edited out a second to look cool. But I think most people would have copped on, yeah, those are probably two separate takes. So number four, with regards to audio editing, I do really, really minimal audio editing. I basically take a good take that I like. I cut any nasty noises off the start where I'm like, I don't know, turning up my volume knob or whatever. And I cut any nasty noises off the end. And sometimes I just leave those both in, to be honest. The only other audio editing I do is sometimes I'll fade something in or fade it out. Not to hide anything, just for transitions. In the distant past, like 10 years ago maybe, I occasionally did lower the volume for bits that were sloppy. But I basically got out of that habit almost immediately because it felt icky. And nowadays I proudly leave my mistakes in, and I hope to revisit some of those with you later in the video. So number five is I do play-along quality videos. I don't do kind of studio quality playthroughs or official playthrough quality playthroughs. I make plenty of mistakes. I'm a bit sloppy. My timing's not that great. All this stuff. And basically, if you've ever tried this, if you've ever played a song along with the record until you thought you sounded as good as the record and then recorded yourself and you realized you didn't actually sound that good, I'm one of the guys who also doesn't actually sound that good. And I'll do some A-Bing so you can see what I mean. But basically, when I watch riff covers on YouTube, I kind of like when you can hear what the song sounds like and it's not just the guitar. That's just what I enjoy. And I think I like with my channel as well the idea that I'm introducing people to some new music they haven't heard. So as a result, I tend to mix things nowadays. What I'm really aiming for is you can hear me clearly over the song, but it's not like a huge difference. So yeah, basically the original track being there does mask mistakes. It masks mistakes in timing, but overall that's the kind of videos I enjoy watching and making. There are things I play on my channel I do play really well. There are things on my channel I play kind of badly. It all washes out in the mix, I think. Finally, I plan to stick to all of these rules. So it's not like I'm making this and then I'm going to start sneakily speeding up audio or editing out mistakes or anything like that. I plan to stick to this basically for the duration of this channel. When it comes to original material that I might do in the future, I might change these because it might be a lot of hassle to get, as good a sound as the full mix, or to duplicate it, like to do a playthrough where everything you see is what you get. It's just a hassle, and not many people do. Well, it's a lot of hassle, and I can't promise to do that. Yeah, so those are basically my rules for how I make riff cover videos. So yeah, I thought I'd look through some recent projects and give you some examples of what I mean. So I think, so this is Myth of Happiness, Sightless, Panglossian, Lights Out, Metal Fatigue, Morning Star, Pet, Gourd. Yeah, so basically you can see they're all one take, or sorry, they're all one continuous take. I do not mean it took me one take to do them. So like Lights Out there took me 38 takes to get this kind of like okay playthrough. Oh, and let me show you what I mean about play along quality versus play through quality. So if I play just the original track first. Me and the original track, and then just me. Okay, that was okay. That was a pleasant surprise. I hadn't listened, because I try to generally get it to like where I can hear myself and then the track. I don't really bother listening to my take exactly, but there you go. So like Myth of Happiness, like, so there's some audio editing just because I didn't want people to hear this beautiful noise here. Yeah, I don't think the internet police are going to come after me for that one. How do I even undo shit? There we go. So again, let me give you an example of what the original track sounds like. Okay, and then with my guitar on top of it. And then just my guitar. So you can see, like, I'm definitely not playing a studio quality there. It's definitely play along quality. There's huge amounts that could be improved in terms of like timing accuracy and string noise and stuff. But I don't think I'm necessarily being dishonest there. If you feel differently, that's fine. This is kind of fairly typical if I'm doing something with stereo tracks or multiple parts. Generally, I'll record all of, say, the left guitar and all of the right guitar, and that's basically it. So, like, here's just the track. And then here's the track with both my guitars. And then here's the track muted. So kind of reasonable. If we look at something more technical, like let's say this, and sometimes I've cropped these to just the last take, so this was probably, I don't know, 30 takes or something. It depends how much time I have to practice something before I upload it, how many takes it takes me to get a good take. I'm not as perfectionist as I used to be. I like to, generally speaking, throw up something if I feel I got the vibe across, even if it's not technically perfect, because technically perfect is a very hard standard to reach. So that would mean I would nearly never do content. So here's the track with my guitar. That was actually a bit sloppier than I realized. Raw shame. But yeah, like, that's basically how a lot of these sound. In retrospect, I think I could be higher in the mix in a few of these. It's there's a kind of thing where basically to do these videos, I'm listening to the original track over and over as I work them out by ear. And then I'm playing along with it a bunch as I get it up to the right kind of caliber. And then for me, I'm kind of like super aware of what's my guitar in the mix and what's not. And then I think that leads me to like consistently underestimate how loud I need to be clearly heard. So like some of my old videos, I spent so much time trying to get those slides right, but the guitar is too low in the mix and you can't really hear that. So I think I'm louder in the mix now, but maybe not enough. So I think the final thing I promised was some old man guitar stories about fake guitar playing. And I think my personal favorite is the saga of Shawn Lane and Buckethead. So Shawn Lane is still one of my favorite guitar players ever. And he's such a melodic, sensitive player, and he has these unbelievable chops. The way I describe him is often the guy who's so good at guitar you forget he's the fastest player in the world. So can you imagine it's the mid-'80s, right? Eddie Van Halen's the big deal, and then like some 18-year-old in Memphis plays you this down the phone line. So Paul Gilbert and guys like that, they heard these demos being passed around on tapes, this kind of stuff, and they just assumed that it got accidentally sped up in between making copies of the tape. You know, these kinds of things could happen if you had slightly mismatched speeds. But yeah, people thought Shawn Lane was a fake guitar player, and then like it turns out Shawn Lane is just a absolute freak of nature. Like, check this out.
Outside kind of sound.
This is kind of playable. Oh, actually, sorry, you gotta hear what he says immediately after that. It's so good.
Okay, and the thing to remember about that, for the stretching...
Yeah, I'm sure if I could remember that, I could play it. Anyway, so people thought Shawn Lane was fake, but it turned out he was the real deal, even more than the real deal. But anyway, so Shawn was really into this guy called Conlon Nancaro, this experimental classical composer who used to turbocharge player pianos and make them play 600 notes per second. And so one time, Shawn, in the studio, did a similar thing. He cut his guitar sound into little samples, and he made a solo that was unplayable even for Shawn Lane. So he has a song called Kaiser Nancaro, and here's this solo that's put together by cutting like lots of little tiny samples of guitar. Oh, I guess here. So you get the idea, right? Like, Shawn was trying to compose something that's completely unplayable and cool, and you can hear some of Shawn's like licks in there, which is really cool. So he was almost playing the things he thought were unplayable. But Buckethead, young Buckethead, when he heard that, he'd heard a lot of Shawn Lane by that point, so he figured, well, it's on a Shawn Lane record, it must be possible to play it. So he learned it. He figured out where the notes were, and he put them on the neck, and he was like, well, you can't play this with one hand, so he figured out an 8-finger tapping arrangement of the solo from Kaiser Nancaro. I don't know if he got it up to speed, but he figured it out. And then when he met Shawn, he played it for him, and Shawn flipped out because it was his fake solo, and then someone had nailed it for real. So they ended up good friends, and like, you know, Buckethead and Shawn playing together, for example. That's my kind of old man story about you got to be very careful before you say anything is fake or real, because there's some crazy people out there, and you know what may be fake one day may be real the next. Thanks very much.